This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
Troy, I want to run something by you here real quick before we have Mason on. Maybe we can ask Mason as well. So I'm a 33-year-old that still enjoys Lunchables, and I had one earlier today. It was the ham and Swiss Lunchable.
All right.
Didn't have the cookies or anything. It was just the 8 crackers, the 8 pieces of cheese, and the well, it was supposed to be 8 pieces of ham. But mine today only had 5.
What?
So I was shorted 3 slices of ham. Should I get in contact? Who is Heinz? Kraft Heinz.
Kraft Heinz,
makes,
yes.
Lunchables. Should I get in contact with them, send it in a complaint, and maybe get some free Lunchables out of it?
Wouldn't be a bad idea. It's there anyway as an opportunity. I've
heard so many stories of people calling in with their complaints, and all of a sudden they're getting shipped a box of whatever that was something was wrong with it. So you like the idea?
You might as well.
I did briefly look into it.
What are you out? I mean, honestly, if you do.
Well, I feel like I was kind of screwed on my $1.89.
No, what I mean is, what are you out if you do follow up on that and make your complaint?
I'm not sending a letter.
Oh, okay.
I'm not send. I don't send letters.
I know that was a sarcastic point.
I send emails.
Yeah, I got you.
I mean, this isn't 1974. I'll send an email, or if there's probably somewhere on their website, I can just customer service or whatever, and I can send in a complaint. I'll be very nice about it. I'm not gonna yell through the keyboard, all caps, exclamation points. Give me my free Lunchables or else. I'd say, hey, folks, can we make this right? I was shorted 3 slices of ham. Welcome to The Game. Mitch Fortner and Troy Coverdale. It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. We'll talk to Mason here in just a moment. R.I.P. Willie Mays, the Say Hey Kid, passed away at the age of 93. My top 100 TV theme songs of all time, 95 through 91. After we kicked off the list yesterday, we will continue it today, coming up at 5:40. And are the Royals coming back down to earth? We will discuss here in hour number 1. AEW Dynamite tonight from Eagle Bank Arena in Fairfax, Virginia. And we are just 11 days away from Forbidden Door. And I'm not going to lie, I have been looking into kind of a last-minute trip out to New York City to go to my first AEW pay-per-view. Let's just say I'm still thinking about it. We are joined today by Mason Voth from K-State Online, as it is Wednesday, and you know what that means. Mason, should I send in a complaint to Lunchable about the 3 slices of ham I was shorted on?
I think you might as well. There's nothing to lose there for you. I have some expertise in this area of not really even meaningfully complaining, just reaching out and getting free stuff. So it's worked for me in the past, and you don't even have to be rude about it. You could even just send an email and be like, hey, did they reduce the size of meat in this to 5 slices and I didn't know about it? And they'll probably be like, oh, sorry that our service wasn't exemplary. And here you go. You can have, as many free Lunchables as you want or something along those lines. But I've done this before with 2 different locations and 2 different business entities, and it's worked out well for me.
Do you want to give those businesses a shout out? I'm kind of interested to know who did you dirty.
So the most recent one, and they didn't even do us dirty, but the most recent one was Purina, the dog food company. And so when we first got our senior citizen dog Mitzi, getting close to 4 years ago, the vet said, hey, for food, you might want to get her on Purina Pro Plan. It would be better for her. And so we got I think it was a Purina Pro Plan meant for senior dogs. Well, they quit making it for her specific age bracket. And so we didn't know that until we just couldn't find them in the stores anymore. And so I just called one day to be like, hey, did you guys stop making this? And the lady on the phone, got in touch with the people there and was like, yes, we did. I apologize for this. and they sent us she was like, well, if you give me your address, we'll send you something to make up for it. A couple of weeks later, we get in the mail like this envelope that's full of like 5 of these golden tickets is what they were called, and it's just 5 free bags of any kind of Purina dog food, and then there were some other ones that were for like smaller percentages off. So that one worked out really well, and like I've got nothing bad to say about Purina. We found more food that worked for our dog. The other one came when I was like really young, like an embarrassing moment in time. I think most kids and then people growing up like, gosh, I hated the person that I was from basically 10 years old until I probably turned 25. I was probably in 8th grade or a freshman in high school, and my buddy and I, we would ride our bike to the Taco John's in Hutchinson. And one day, I think we were just like screwing around, and we wrote like an angry email to Taco John's, and they took it and they sent us a thing for a bunch of free stuff from Taco John's on our next visit. So normally, if you just take the time to complain, these places are going to accommodate you for whatever reason, even though they really, they shouldn't in most cases because most people don't mean it or it's not a significant thing. But I think if you do it here with Lunchables, that's a good route to go. Get you some freebies and stock up on that, in that little fridge in the sports office.
I've seen celebrities like on Twitter if they're having a bad experience with airlines, they will just tweet at the airline, and that airline will get back to them and say, hey, can you DM us? And we'll just take care of you. I think that's the way to go with your complaints anymore. It's not go to a website. Just tag them on something public like Twitter, and that'll really get the support team, the customer service team moving on correcting those issues. But I like the Taco John's thing because I can really go for some potato Olays once in a while. So, but they don't ever do me any disservice, so I'll probably leave those guys alone. But speaking of that industry, I remember seeing on social media one time that, this was maybe 10 years ago, and Taco Bell was getting rid of the Diablo sauce. And I love the Taco Bell Diablo sauce. So this person on like Twitter hits them up and says, hey, I like your sauce. Can I get some packets? And they send the guy like a whole case of packets. I'm like, that 24-year-old Mitch, that's hitting the lottery. Getting those Diablo packets. We're speaking with Mason Voth from K-State Online. Mason, hey, we're exactly a month out from College Football 25. Have you pre-ordered the game yet?
Yes, I have. It's locked, loaded, ready to go. That way, whatever night it is that I can play it, I can fire it up at 11 p.m. and just, kind of admit that the next day is going to really, really suck because I'll be up late playing it and then have to take care of my daughter the next day. Although the only bad news about when it comes out is that I have a family reunion that weekend that I have to go to. So I'm only going to get like a day and a half of playing it. And then I'm going to be, kind of MIA from my PlayStation for about 3 or 4 days. So that's not all that exciting, but it's probably good to kind of slow my roll and ease back into the NCAA football grind.
Did you just buy the basic game, or did you get the more expensive add-ons?
Well, I got the version, like the step up from the standard version. That way I could have the 3 days early access. Mm-hmm. This is something that I'm okay with paying the premium price. Like, I'm an adult. I have real person money, so I can sometimes splurge a little bit on things. And what I tell myself is, okay, if I'm sitting here and it's like $30 extra for this, would I, on a Tuesday when I could be playing it, pay $10 to be able to play it ahead of time? Yes. The answer is yes. I'd pay $10 today to play it. Would I pay $10 tomorrow to play it? Yes, probably. So I justify it that way. Like, I don't think the price is that big of a restriction on my fun. So it'll give me something to do, and it'll be a good time.
Well, I know you and Drew Galloway, you've been putting out a lot of videos on YouTube recently talking about K-State recruiting. We'll talk about basketball here in a little bit, but I want to start on the football side of things because 2 more commitments today for K-State football. McGuire Richmond, who's from Blue Valley High School here in Kansas, 3-star linebacker. Dominic Mitchell, 3-star safety, 6'2", from Phoenix, Arizona. You know, I spoke on the show yesterday during Jabroni of the Week about how the Brits, they're going through a heat wave right now, and it's like 77 degrees, and they can barely take it. People are passing out, not hydrating enough. So from the UK to Death Valley, heat wave for the Cats. How hot is K-State football recruiting right now?
They're pretty hot right now. Also, I mean, real quick, if you're passing out from not getting enough water in like 77 degrees, are you like intaking negative amounts of water? Like, how are you doing that? That seems almost impossible. Look, I think
a lot of
K-State
pints.
Is on.
A lot of pints.
Okay, a lot of pints. K-State's in a really good spot right now with their football recruiting. I mean, there were people that I think were a little bit uneasy, but they've always had a plan. It's coming together. And all of these guys that they're landing, there are things to like about them. And it's just creating momentum for the next guy to want to jump in and be a part of it and get on board. And the whole, June process where all these official visits go, things have been staggered in such a way where you can create that momentum where, I mean, every single weekend that they've had an official visitor so far, they've had a commitment come within a day or two after those weekend visits, sometimes, before those guys even get out of town. So they're on a hot streak. They sit at, I guess it would be 10 in the class now, which I've been just forcing Drew to give me a number almost every week and say, how many are they going to have by the 4th of July? And for the last 2-3 months, he's been pretty confident in saying, hey, I think they're going to get to at least double digits. Well, now the number's gone to 12. And I think he, DY and I, we all just kind of think 12 may have been too conservative there. They may really get to 15, which would be an insane number considering where they sat at the start of the month. So we'll see what happens. There are a handful of other guys that are lined up that you think would be candidates to pop in the near future. And obviously they have a massive weekend coming up with Lincoln Cura, the 5-star tight end from Goodland, visiting for his OV.
Well, I just did some quick math here, and I think 15 is a fair number. That would be a great number by the 4th of July. Well, the 4th of July is 15 days away. So can K-State get to 15 in 15 days? There's your headline. McGuire Richmond is an in-state kid, K-State's second of the 2025 class. I'm sure you know more of his story than I do, but what I do know is that his brother plays at Iowa. How big of a win is this for K-State to beat out Iowa that has already a short legacy with the hot guys in this family?
I think it's pretty significant because I asked Drew this yesterday and to get his thoughts if, hey, we only see 2 Power 4 offers here for McGuire Richmond. What's the thought process there? Is this that, hey, K-State was kind of the school that he really wanted an offer from, and his brother goes to Iowa, and everybody else realized that they didn't have much of a chance in this thing? And Drew basically agreed, yeah, that's kind of what it was. So many people probably view this as a 2-dog race. And I think it was real that K-State probably had to fend off Iowa. I think it's probably pretty easy to try and sell to a guy, hey, you're going to come play for what is one of the best defenses in the country every year. And your brother's been here and getting ready to be a starter for his 3rd year. But I think K-State just was able to prove themselves. And it's significant that to some of these kids in the state, you're still the place where they would rather be, even when a place like Iowa comes calling, where, K-State and Iowa, fairly comparable spots in terms of the college football landscape right now, but Iowa's in the Big Ten, so there can be a draw there and some other things. But K-State still won out. And McGuire Richmond wanted to be at K-State, and it seems like that was kind of what the goal and plan was all along, and K-State came through, made it happen. And I think that's kind of been the common thread with a lot of these commitments lately, is that these are guys that looked at K-State and said, I want that offer. I want to be there. And when they got here, did their visit to K-State, it lived up to their expectations. They got what they needed out of it, and they said, no reason to wait around. I'm committing in the near future. We're locking it down, getting it done, and it's put K-State in a really nice spot.
And really like that pipeline connection right now with Blue Valley High School there in Stillwell with the Tigers and head coach Alan Terrell because this is now 4 guys in 3 years, right, that will be coming from Blue Valley High School. Sterling Lockett a couple of years ago, and then you had Andre Davis, a wide receiver, and just a stud of a running back, and J.B. Price have all come from Blue Valley High School, and that continues with the 2025 class with McGuire Richmond, a 3-star linebacker who I'll speak more about in 5'10", because I think I like he's right now maybe the leader for me for the 10 commits on where I've been most impressed with his film, and I'll break that down coming up at 5:10. But we need to take a break, and when we come back, more with Mason Voth and Elliot Voth as we'll talk basketball. Coleman Hawkins, the class is complete. More with Mason coming up next on The Game.
This poor man is crying. Why? He missed the game. You know, you can always check out The Game podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and at newsradiokman.com.
So believe it or not, Troy, this song you're playing, a past girlfriend of mine.
Uh-oh.
This was our song.
What?
Guess where she was from?
I'm going to say probably not Morrowville.
No, Salina. I don't even remember why this was our song. First of all, I love this song. My Woman from Tokyo. Anyway, back with Mason Voth from K-State Online. All right, Mason. Man, Elliot is talking today. Where's she at now? 10 months?
She is 10 months now. It's nonstop. The days, I appreciate them. I love her, but they're also it's an equal balance of fun, enjoyment, and also just miserable because there is not a moment unless she is asleep that I can do anything productive. I basically do my work in 5-minute increments. Occasionally she'll be nice and give me like an hour, a good hour when she's awake that I could maybe be in the office and, recording videos and doing some other stuff. But she moves all over the place nonstop. She hates the boundaries I have set up for her. And yeah, credit to her for being like her old man, but she thinks that she needs to use her mouth all the time. And that certainly manifests itself in times like this where I need her to be quiet.
Key phrase right there. You admitted that she takes after you.
Yeah, her mom certainly likes to talk back too, but I think that the way that she uses her mouth probably aligns a little bit more like me because she is not shy, and it would be a little bit better if she was because we were in Kohl's earlier today. We had to go return something, and she was blabbering and pointing at things. I'm like, yeah, this is just not what we should be doing right now. But she's awesome. She's fun. I'm glad she's mine, and I'm probably better off for having her around than not. So that's the positive outlook.
When you're out at a store like Kohl's or wherever, how often are people walking by and wanting to see the baby and tell you how cute she is?
A handful of times. I think most people are normal and realize if I don't know you, you probably don't want me coming up and like interacting, number one, with you, but mostly like your kid. And they would be correct, the people that are like that. Actually, it's funny. There was a guy today, I was getting out of the car at Kohl's, and he's kind of walking by. He's got his kid with him, and he kind of stops, turns around, and he goes, are you Mason Voth? I said, yeah. And he said, oh, he's like, I watch your stuff on KSO sometimes. I said, oh, thanks. And then I go around to the other side of my car to go get Elliot out. And he goes, oh, are you getting the kiddo out? And I said, yeah. He said, oh, it's all good. And then he walked off. So to that man, I appreciate you taking in KSO content and also being normal and just being like, oh, that guy's with his kid. Don't want to bother him too much. So salute to him. We need more of that random guy from Kohl's. Less of the people that just feel entitled because you have a small child that they can come up and look at it.
Yeah, let's take a moment to shout at the normal people. You're the real ones out there. Really appreciate you. Coleman Hawkins, personality-wise, don't know much about him. Basketball-wise, know quite a bit about him. He's pretty good. This class for Jerome Tang in 2024 and the staff, it's now complete, and it's complete in June. I mean, what are we going to talk about all summer besides how good K-State football is going to be and basketball and all the sports? Now that this class is complete, throw in Coleman Hawkins in the equation. Just give me your gut feeling about what you think about this team.
I feel really good about this team. I mean, I thought even before they added that final piece, no matter who it was going to be, I still felt pretty good about them. Like, there was good potential there. They were just going to have to work harder at getting it done. And now that you know who they added as the last piece, like, of the guys that they got, Coleman Hawkins would have been the dude that I would have said, number one, you got to get him at all costs. And the fact that you were able to get him as your final ad is just such a big deal. Like, I know that there are some people that are a little bit skittish about, oh, this team has a lot of size. Like, how are you going to use it? Coleman Hawkins can play the three. I'm comfortable saying that, certainly on offense. And I think Jerome Tang and the staff has proven that over the first 2 years, they can coach up a team to play pretty good defense at times. So they're going to figure it out, how to make it work with these guys. And I think that the other thing that we probably needed to take into consideration when talking about this team is that, you know, not all these guys have to start. You know, Ugana and Yenso does not have to start. David Gasson does not have to start. Like, they'll be fine there. And some of those other transfers, it's going to be interesting to see how they play out and break into their role to what their minutes end up being, and maybe that dictates the way K-State plays. But they're going to be just fine, and they have as good of in terms of talent, we'll see how it works together, because we know that Doug McDaniel has been on a bad team the last 2 years, but they have one of the best 1 and 2 players in the Big 12 this upcoming season with Doug McDaniel and Coleman Hawkins. So I'm really excited about K-State basketball because I love the way Coleman Hawkins plays. He's versatile. There's a lot of good there. This is going to be an awesome team to watch this upcoming season.
Now, this is the season, right, that K-State plays at Koch Arena? Is that
correct?
Right?
Yeah. Ugh,
boy, what do you know? Do you know anything about Wichita State basketball this year and who they've been picking up? And because can this team just
bunch of nobodies?
Yeah, I was just hoping that was going to be the answer. K-State could just go in there and steamroll Wichita State at Koch Arena.
They should be able to do that. I mean, they're trying. I think Paul Mills is probably trying as best as he can, but Wichita State basketball is just in a really bad spot right now. And the fan base, I think most of the people that give money to it are still caught up, 11 years ago and thinking, when's Greg Marshall going to show up on the sideline again and all this other stuff. But, I mean, if you look at the off-season ads for Wichita State, they're nothing special. And they didn't have their point guard until maybe a couple of weeks ago. So they're going to be in a tricky spot. That's not a game that K-State should have to worry about this year, especially with the talent that they've kind of put together here.
To wrap up, Mason, I'll pick your brain on this, and I touched on it on Monday, and that's the $2 million price tag that came with Coleman Hawkins. And it was reported as well, he was also looking for the right fit, but I mean, when you're the top recruit left in the transfer portal, and there's still a lot of Power 4 or Power 5s that are wanting your services, you kind of have some leverage, right? With that $2 million price tag, are we just seeing the beginning on where we think NIL money is going to go, especially in basketball, and how more public those NIL price tags have been over the last couple of years?
I don't know if it's going to get like too far beyond this point. I think this was a special circumstance, and we'll certainly have some of these over the years where guy later in the process has a lot of leverage, so he can come in, get quite a bit. But I think anytime a big NIL deal is done or thought to have been done, that number is going to become public because it benefits almost every party involved for that number to be known. For Coleman Hawkins, it's good for it to be known because, hey, people know I'm that caliber of player getting that kind of money. It's good for Coleman Hawkins' agent because he can go to, future clients and be like, look, I just snagged Coleman Hawkins this much money. Think of how much I can get you. And to some extent, like I see some people maybe being upset about it, but like it's good for K-State and Jerome Tang to be able to flex their muscle and say, yeah, we can pay $2 million to get a player if that is the number indeed that Coleman Hawkins is getting. Like that does not hurt you moving forward to be able to, be for real and be a player for the big names in the portal, which we saw K-State be this year. I mean, Doug McDaniel is a big name. Coleman Hawkins is a big name. And they were right there in the mix for some other guys. Didn't end up working out for them. And some of those other guys that didn't work out for, I still think K-State made out better with this outcome than if they had landed a Clifford Amore or an Omar Ballo from Arizona. Like, I think they have a better roster here than they would have if they had added those guys. So, there's a lot of what ifs in that situation. But all around, I think this is a great thing for every party involved.
Just one more thought, because this goes back to December with Chris Kleiman after the season and talking about investing more in NIL and taking it more seriously, not just as a football staff but as a athletic department, everybody being on board and working with Wildcat NIL. And I remember thinking to myself at one point, I certainly liked what I was hearing, but I think it would continue to grow, like the investment in Wildcat NIL and from the donors or whoever, that would continue to grow. I mean, I think it just went off like a rocket ship this year. Did this all happen a lot quicker than you were thinking?
No, probably not. Just because they have the right coaches to get people excited about what can be done. I mean, Chris Kleiman and Jerome Tang are the perfect guys for this. Jerome Tang has one of the best attitudes and just ability to get people fired up in any kind of workspace. And then you think of Chris Kleiman, K-State could not have found a better replacement after Bill Snyder than Chris Kleiman, because Kleiman is a guy that, in terms of getting the job done, he knows that's what he's got to do. He's a pretty no-nonsense guy, but he's also personable. He fits in with the people here. And Gene Taylor deserves a lot of credit in that space as well. Everybody knows Gene Taylor has come in and been very personable to most of the people that affiliate themselves with K-State. So I think they just have the right group of people doing it. Obviously, when you talk about Wildcat NIL, Curry Sexton has done a really good job with that as well. So the people involved are really good for K-State here. So it doesn't shock me that it's been done. And it certainly helps that these guys have proven themselves on the field, on the court, to be good coaches, that they can paint the picture to K-State fans and say, hey, we can be at this level, but we have to sustain, be able to get the guys that other schools are going to be able to get. And to this point, K-State fans have shown their commitment and faith in those guys by pitching in the NIL dollars to keep up in that space.
Yeah, and from what it sounds like, the word of Jerome Tang, entertaining the idea of going to Arkansas and listening to their offer and listening to their pitch, maybe could be used as leverage to get that NIL money available for him to do his job at K-State, and we've seen that certainly take off with this 2024 class. All right, Mason, that'll wrap it up. Take care. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, we'll see you.
It's Mason Voth from K-State Online joining us here on The Game. We'll take a timeout. I want to bring up something, kind of bouncing off what Troy and AJ were talking about yesterday with the Royals. Are they doing okay? Record-wise, still, yes, but are they really doing okay? Or are they coming back down to earth? Because they're losing a lot lately. That's coming up next. Mitch Fortner, Troy Coverdale bringing you The Game on K-Man. Touch on the Royals for just a moment as they have an 8:40 first pitch tonight at Oakland. Pre-game coverage at 8 o'clock, just like last night. Royals lose 7-5 to Oakland. They finally get an opponent that's not like a leader in their division. Kind of ran a gauntlet the last 4 series. But they lose 7-5, a little bit of a rough start. The Royals having to try to just claw their way back the entire matchup. They had their moments, just couldn't get over that hump, could not get the lead. With that loss, Kansas City now drops to third place in the American League Central. They're 5 games back of Cleveland. Minnesota now 4.5 back. Detroit 12 back. The Chicago White Sox 26.5 back. Just kind of looking at the Royals as a whole right now. We were really spoiled for the first couple of months. We really were. Starting pitching was just off the charts. Bullpen stinks. We know that. And the Royals' offense has been, for the most part, average, and at times above average, and playing really well. And by the way, Bobby Witt Jr. is becoming a superstar. But as of late, the Royals are not winning a whole lot of games. Out of the last 21 contests, they have won 7 of those last 21. So they've lost, 66.6% of the last 21 games. Now, luckily for Kansas City, they were able to build a nice, lead above 500 with their win total. But now stand at 41-33. They're still 8 games above 500. Certainly not a bad spot to be in when you're in the middle of June. But are we starting to see the Royals, and maybe not starting is the right word, but are the Royals coming back down to earth? Are they struggling? What's the story right now? What's the deal?
Let me give you where the numbers really give you the reality check. And I know wins, losses, people always look at that with pitchers and, say, yeah, but that doesn't tell the full story. It does effectively right now with what the Royals are doing. Cole Reagans is 4-4 on the season. Brady Singer is 4-4 on the season. Alec Marsh is 5-4 on the season after last night. Michael Wacha currently on the disabled list, 4-5 on the season. Others who have started for Kansas City during that time frame have struggled as well and don't find themselves with a one-loss record, period, for the most part. So it just has not panned out here over the last month, essentially, that pitching staff has been able to withstand what it was, or continue to do what it was doing early on. And I think that the records tell you just why the Royals are struggling. Everybody's at 500 except for Seth Lugo, who's 10-2. That's the number then that really stands out because it's so overwhelmingly different than what the rest of the starters have wound up becoming.
I think the offense has been quietly getting better.
Oh, yeah. I would agree. Now, last night, still put up 5 runs, but they were 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position.
Well, it's just more of a team effort. It was not that long ago, it feels like. I know we've only been in the season for, it's now been 2.5 months. There's still a long way to go, but it didn't feel like that long ago where you had Bobby Witt Jr., you had Salvi, and then, who else? It was just those two exploded. The rest of the team was at best average with the offense. Now you're seeing that calibrate a little bit. Salvi is at 291 still. Witt's over 300. But you have a number of guys that are batting 260, 250 as those numbers start to get a little bit better. And by the way, the Kansas City the offense is now a top 10 team in batting average, which, not too long ago, they were not cracking the top 15 or top 16, 17.
Freddie Fermin has proven to be a very good backstop when Salvador isn't catching. When Perez is not behind home plate, Fermin has not had a drop-off there on the fielding side, and he's batting 286. So you can, or 289 rather. So you can say that you've got yourself a good situation at catcher no matter which one of them is behind the plate, and you're then able to work them around the lineup depending on the day of the week. Whether you want Sal at DH or want him at first base. Vinny, at this point, batting 241, that's workable. That's workable. But he's not hitting home runs for the moment. So, again, has tailed off there. But in general, again, you're right. The offense is definitely performing better, and I think Fermin has been the surprise in that area this year.
You have Cole Reagans tonight, Seth Lugo tomorrow.
Correct.
Expecting some W's.
Better have some W's.
And to win this series. Because this is supposed to be an easier part of the schedule.
It's baseball. It's maddening.
Before you have Cleveland coming up on June 27th at the K. It's an FS1 game, by the way, coming up on June 27th. So, cool. Well, don't like the way the Royals are trending right now, which, by the way, they saw an average average turnout at Dodger Stadium. About 51,000 was the attendance for the 3-game series on average at Dodger Stadium over the weekend. Last night, 7,013. And you know that it wasn't anything close to 7,013 fans last night. I didn't even see
Oakland.
I saw a couple of highlights, and you could tell, no, not even close to 7,000 people in that stadium.
I will note this: the Oakland Bees, the independent league team that has picked up the mantle and is playing at a park nearby. Yeah, they're selling out.
Good for them.
4,000 some odd.
Hey now. All right, let's wrap up hour one. When we come back, Florida basketball has added a player which in his bio literally states that this kid owns a Guinness World Record for his height. That's up next. Well, breaking news here. The entire country of Ecuador is experiencing a blackout. That's not good.
No.
All right, we finish up hour one of the game with pretty interesting news coming out of Gainesville. The Florida Gators and their head coach, I can't stand him, Todd Golden, is a stooge. Watching him work a couple of years ago against Jerome Tang in the Big 12 SEC Challenge, that guy runs his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And he's definitely the type of person that'll talk so much trash. And Jerome Tang, if you're listening, he did this. And I heard every word. Will talk trash behind your back. And when it comes to confrontation, will back down very quickly. Does not have the bite to back up the bark. Anyway, but he did pick up the tallest kid to ever play college basketball. His name's Oliver Rowe, and he actually holds the Guinness World Record for the tallest teenager. According to the Florida website, he stands 7 feet, 9 inches tall and weighs 290 pounds. Florida released a video, I think this was a couple of days ago. They released a video of him working out with the team. Like if you saw the other day, K-State basketball put out a video on Twitter of, I think it was Max Jones, was pushing a car.
Yes.
And they were working out in the parking lot, and he was pushing a car. I'm sure everybody had their turn.
Yay, CrossFit.
To push this vehicle that was in neutral. He's running with the team, and he does look pretty athletic. He's not moving around like Andre the Giant. He's moving around like he's got some agility. 7 feet, 9 inches tall. That would make him the tallest college basketball player of all time.
Holy smokes.
As long as that's not an embellished height like you will see
sure.
in college basketball. Let's see here. He was 6'1" at 8 years old.
Oh, my.
6'1". 6'11" by 6th grade. And then in 7th grade, he hit the 7-foot mark. 7'9". See, there's a couple of other nuggets here. It looks like the record for tallest college basketball player, no idea how to say this name, but the 7 feet, 7 inches. So he gets it by 2 inches. Good Lord. I'm good with being 5'5". I would rather be 5'5" than 7'9" or 7'7" or whatever.
Good luck finding a bed.
All right, we'll talk about K-State's latest hot streak in football recruiting. Rest in peace, Willie Mays, and my next 5 of my top 100 TV theme songs of all time. Up next.